working my way. That's outstanding. And by the way, Flickr just went crazy with that. When you said to him, do you have any idea what you're getting into? Through the years, it seems like this role has been both sunshine but also a cloud sometimes for you. I mean, I know that there's been many challenges in it and many opportunities. It must be interesting as you reflect on it.
Well, we went on the air in 1966. I started becoming involved with Star Trek around 1964, actually, when we made the first pilot. And with Jeffrey Hunter was the captain. And that pilot didn't sell. I think it was a year later we made the second pilot with Bill Shatner, which sold. So I was involved from 1964 on. But before that, I was always wondering where my next job was going to be. And after that, after Star Trek went on the air, and since then, until today, I've never had to worry about work. I've always had invitations to come and do this or that. TV, movies, stage. I've acted all over the world. China, Japan, Australia, France, Germany. I've done it. I've done Broadway a couple of times. All over the United States on stages, in different plays that I've wanted to do. So the opportunities have been fantastic. And I'm very, very grateful. Not many actors have had the kind of run that I've had, where you don't have to worry about a job to support your family. There was a tough time. Not so tough about getting work, but tough about identity. All through, when we finished with the series, 1968, I was hoping to go to work and find some other kinds of things to do other than that kind of character, and I jumped into Mission Impossible for 2 seasons. It was very interesting for a while. I got to play European dictators, South American dictators, Asian dictators, and I got to do all those dialects and makeups and so forth. After a while, around the middle of the second season, here came the European dictator again, and the Mexican dictator, and the South African. I thought that, guys, I was getting really bored. And if there's one thing I couldn't stand, it was to be bored going to work. And that's just terrible to go to work bored. And I asked them to let me out. So after that, I thought, so that was around 1970, I guess. And Star Trek was going into reruns. I expected that we would have 2 or 3 more years of reruns and it would fade away like most shows do. Instead, it kept getting stronger and stronger. And it became like a big news story. The press was talking about this tremendous resurgence of interest in Star Trek. And I guess it was because in syndication, local stations could put it on whenever they thought it would find an audience, whereas NBC had never programmed us very well on the original broadcasting. So now stations were doing it every night at 6 o'clock. Weekend marathons of Star Trek, starting Saturday morning and finishing Sunday night, every hour a different episode. College courses were being shifted in their hours because students wanted to see Star Trek in the afternoon. It was a big deal. But there was no Star Trek being produced. So that was a problem because wherever I went to do the other work, all the questions that I got from fans and press were, what about Star Trek? What about Star Trek? I said, wait a minute. Tonight I'm coming to your city to act on your stage, to do this play or whatever, or I'm appearing in this, or they say, yeah, but what about Star Trek? So it got a little difficult. And right in the middle of that, I had done a couple of books of poetry, and my publisher said, how would you like to write a book about your Star Trek experience? So I thought, okay, I think I know what people want to hear, and I started writing chapter after chapter. I wrote a chapter about my family, I wrote a chapter about how I got the job, I wrote a chapter about how the Spock character was developed. And while I was writing the book, I was in San Francisco airport, and a lady recognized me, and she's got a little boy with her, and she marches him over to me, and she says, Johnny, look who's standing right here in front of you. The little boy looks at me, and there's no recognition. She said, this is your favorite character on television, you're watching every week. Nothing. She said, this is Mr. Spock. He wasn't going to buy it. I found that really interesting. I would say fascinating, but I'm not supposed to say it. shortcut. What she really was saying was this is the actor who portrayed that character. But she didn't say that. She said, this is Mr. Spock. And he didn't see that. So I wrote a chapter about that. I thought that was interesting. And the chapter was called I Am Not Spock. And I decided to use that as the title of the book against the publisher's advice, but I thought that was an interesting title. It's turned out to be a big mistake. Because a lot of people thought that there was no Star Trek being produced because I wouldn't be the Spock character. That was not the case at all, at all. There was just no Star Trek being produced. So for a few years, I carried that story around. I was burdened with that. Until 1977, I was on stage in New York in a production of Equus, acting in Equus. And I heard about this new movie that was this gigantic hit, science fiction. I went to a theater in Times Square for an afternoon screening, packed, big house, packed, people screaming, Star Wars. And I thought, wow, this is really working. I bet Paramount's going to be calling me pretty soon. And sure enough, so George Lucas really did us all a big favor. Seriously, I mean, really. It was Star Wars that put Star Trek back into production. Because the studio saw this tremendous success and they decided to go with it. And after that, that whole problem about I'm Not Spock went away because, of course, I was in the movie.
Back in the years. And then, well, what about that first film, the Star Trek motion picture, the Bob Wise film? I mean, it felt more like 2001 in some ways.
Yeah.
Than it did.
Well, Bob Wise was a very interesting choice. He had made a movie called The Day the Earth Stood Still, which was a classic, really classic. Yeah. And he was a multiple Academy Award winner, and he had all the credentials. But he said time and time again that he didn't know what Star Trek really was all about. And he was heavily dependent on the producers and the writers to tell him what Star Trek was all about. And they had kind of decided, I think, that it would be a mistake to do a movie that was anything like the television show. Because people say, oh, it's like another television episode. They wanted it to be different. They wanted it to be bigger, grander, more solemn in some way, and more like 2001: Space Odyssey. Cooler, and they could use special effects that we had not been able to do in the series. So you saw this gigantic ship going by, and then it came back this way. And then it went out that way. We were passengers, you know. What's going to happen now? Not much, you know. Could have used a couple of things.
And then, you know, you